The rain hammered against the Parisian rooftop as Nathan Cole, a retired CIA operative, sat in the dimly lit bar nursing a whiskey. His years in the field had taught him one thing: silence was never just silence. His fingers traced the outline of a lighter, an old habit he hadn't shaken. Then, the burner phone in his pocket vibrated, shattering the illusion of peace. He hesitated before answering. "Cole," he said. A voice he hadn't heard in decades responded in a whisper. "The ghost is awake." His grip on the glass tightened. The ghost was a Cold War asset, buried so deep that even he had believed the man was a myth. Nathan's heart pounded as the voice continued. "A package is waiting for you at the old rendezvous point." Before he could respond, the line went dead. He pocketed the phone, threw some cash on the counter, and walked into the storm. The past wasn't done with him yet. Arriving at an abandoned bookstore in Montmartre, he slipped through the back alley entrance. A small envelope sat on the dust-covered counter. Inside, a Polaroid of a man he thought was long dead, Sergei Volkov. A single phrase was scrawled on the back in Russian: "Find him before they do." Nathan flipped the photo over again, trying to process what this meant. Volkov had been the ultimate deep-cover Soviet agent, a ghost among spies. If he was alive, someone had reactivated him. But who? And why now? His instincts screamed that this was a setup, but he had no choice. He pulled out a secure phone and dialed an old number. "Need a favor," he said when the familiar voice answered. "Paris. Now." He left the bookstore and melted into the rainy streets, knowing full well that he was already being watched. The game had begun again. The next morning, Nathan sat in a cafe near the Seine, pretending to read a newspaper. Across from him, a woman with auburn hair and sharp green eyes stirred her espresso. "I knew you'd call," she said without looking up. Isabelle Laurent, ex-DGSE, former French intelligence, and the only person he trusted. He slid the Polaroid across the table. "Volkov," she sighed, picking it up. "If this is real, we have a problem. After the Berlin Wall fell, he vanished. Some say he defected, others say he died. But if he's active again, someone is pulling the strings." Isabelle tapped her phone and turned the screen toward him. A classified Interpol report: 3 dead operatives in Berlin, all former intelligence assets. Their last known connection? A Russian bank with suspected ties to the FSB. "He's cleaning house," Nathan murmured. Isabelle nodded. "And that means we're already too late." He exhaled slowly, scanning the names. These weren't just assets. They were people who knew things about the Cold War's darkest secrets. If Volkov was eliminating them, he wasn't just reactivating. He was burying something deep. The question was, what was he trying to hide? They followed the lead to Berlin, a city where ghosts of the past still walked. Under the neon haze of Alexanderplatz, Nathan waited. At exactly midnight, a hooded figure approached. "Volkov is looking for something," the man whispered. "Something buried in the old KGB archives." Nathan narrowed his eyes. "Where?" The informant hesitated. "Moscow. Lubyanka." Isabelle cursed under her breath. The old KGB headquarters. That place wasn't just a fortress, it was a graveyard of secrets. "They'll kill you before you get close," the informant warned before vanishing into the night. Moscow was colder than Nathan remembered. They slipped through customs with forged passports, heading straight for their contact. Viktor Petrov, a former KGB archivist, met them in a dimly lit warehouse. "Volkov is after the Red Directive," he whispered. Isabelle tensed. That file was a Cold War legend, a list of deep-cover operatives, blackmail material, and nuclear contingency plans. "If he gets it," Petrov shook his head. "He's not getting it." Nathan exchanged a glance with Isabelle. They had less than 24 hours to reach it before Volkov did. Breaking into Lubyanka was suicide, but they had no choice. Moving under the cover of night, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors. Then, a gun clicked behind Nathan's head. "Did you really think you could outplay me?" Volkov's voice was ice cold. Isabelle spun, but 3 armed men stepped from the shadows. "You were always predictable, Cole," Volkov said. "You chase ghosts, but you never see the truth." Nathan clenched his jaw. "And what's the truth?" Volkov smiled darkly. "That you were the last loose end." Nathan smirked. "Then you should have killed me sooner." He pressed a hidden detonator in his sleeve. The lights flickered, alarms blared, and a distant explosion rocked the building. Chaos erupted as Nathan tackled Volkov, wrestling the gun away. Isabel took down one of the guards, grabbing a file from the desk. "This is it," she yelled. Volkov fought like a cornered animal, but Nathan was faster. A single shot rang out. Volkov slumped, staring at Nathan with something between rage and relief. "Too late," he whispered before going still. As sirens wailed in the distance, Nathan and Isabel vanished into the Moscow night. They had the red directive, but at what cost? "They'll come for us," Isabel murmured. Nathan lit a cigarette, exhaling slowly. "Let them." He pocketed the file, knowing the ghosts of the Cold War were never truly buried. Some wars never ended. They just waited.